Well, in the past 7 days, ICE agents have now arrested and started the deportation process of over 7,300 illegal alien criminals as of today, on this Tuesday, including a number of child rapists, murderers, sex traffickers, and more crimes that are just too numerous to list here. Of course, Democrats in Washington under the Biden administration not only knew about this, they helped facilitate all of this into the United States. They had no problem letting these child rapists stay here in the United States. Our next guest, in fact, testified before Congress back in September, letting Democrats know and the Biden administration know that there are massive numbers of child rapists in the United States. She is a crime victims advocate. She was telling the story of an 11-year-old, Maria Gonzalez, who was brutally raped and murdered by an illegal immigrant. Watch this.
When Maria went to the door, there's a little chain that we have in those apartments, right? When you open the door to try to keep us safe, that chain was not enough to keep this animal out of Maria's apartment. He pushed his way in, and Maria fought for her life. She was 11 years old. To all of you, 3 little girls passing away may not be many, but what if one of those little girls was your daughter, your granddaughter, or your niece? Can you imagine them trying to fight off a grown man off of them? The shock of being undressed, the pain of being beaten and smothered, trying to fight for your life while a predator's one objective is to use them to satisfy their sick and demented appetites. Our girls deserve protection. Our girls deserve to live their life without fear. Our girls deserve to perish in a natural manner of old age.
And joining me now is that crime victims advocate, April Aguirre, who is testifying before Congress there. April, thank you so much for joining us here on the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So over the past 7 days, we've seen a massive number of deportations and arrests, over 7,000 of them. It's almost as if they knew exactly where these people were, that they were able to swoop in almost immediately and start arresting and deporting these people. How does that sit with you?
It doesn't sit well with me. I just cannot believe that we would allow these individuals to continue in minority communities, to continue harming minority communities, because we have misaligned sympathies. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them. Why sit there and give somebody a bond that they can go out back into the communities that they're harming? So it just doesn't make sense. Where do we account for flight risk when somebody's not even from this country? So yes, they knew exactly where to go because a lot of these people have already been previously charged with crimes, never made it back to their court dates, were out on bail, and they have their addresses. The worst of the worst have already committed crimes here in the United States.
I mean, I know it's hard to put a number on it. How many of these people do you think have been multiple offenders? They've raped a child and then they've been released on bond and they get to do it all over again.
I like to use the example of when an individual gets pulled over for DWI. Do you really think that's the first time that they got on the road behind the wheel drunk, or just the first time they were caught? Right. So I always wonder, how many people have they harmed? How many children, how many families have they harmed? And some children that haven't even spoken up yet before they were caught.
It's really deeply disturbing and disgusting. What do you think is the motivation for the release of these individuals? Mostly happening, I believe, in a lot of sanctuary cities and Democrat stronghold cities. Can you talk about that as a crime victims advocate? What were you advocating for? That they stay behind bars or that they are deported?
So I believe that when an individual comes into this country, right, and they commit a crime, whether they came in here illegally or legally, they should not be afforded bail. They are not U.S. citizens where they have the same rights as our Constitution protects U.S. citizens, right? And they are the definition of a flight risk. They have no community ties. So why would we further risk the community by releasing them back into the communities that they're harming? So we have a huge problem in democratic cities where they don't believe in incarceration because somebody is low income. Being low income should not give you a discount pass to continue to commit crimes.
Right. Right. And do you see a double standard for American citizens who are born here and commit crimes and are held or put in, behind bars, maybe permanently or for many years for similar crimes? Do you see sort of a double standard for those who are here illegally?
I think that if a U.S. citizen does not have community ties, and was not from the community, and they could not prove those community ties, could not prove that they had good work standings, I don't think they'd be so easily released on bail. But we have misaligned sympathies. We are not going after these people. As you know, there's a police officer shortage in the whole entire United States. So the likelihood of you being caught while committing a crime is so low right now that if you do get caught, how sloppy were you and how bolden were you to just be committing these crimes to where the police could catch up to you?
Yeah, it's a great point. You know, Hollywood celebrities, sort of an epicenter of pedophilia in Hollywood. They're sort of outraged about these raids. And by the way, we predicted this on the show last year. Once we heard that they were going to immediately start enforcing and do mass deportations of these illegal criminals, I predicted that the liberal media was going to start painting these as like stormtroopers. You know, they were coming through and destroying communities, these ICE raids and all of this. And you saw this yesterday from Selena Gomez, Hollywood actress. Watch her in tears over what she says, the children.
I just want to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything, I promise.
So what was your response when you saw Selena Gomez crying about the children? Here you were testifying before Congress about children in the United States being murdered, raped by these illegal immigrants. So what is she talking about here?
You know, once again, we come back to misaligned sympathies. And I did not see a tear from Selena or Jimmy Fallon or those folks there at the late night TV shows over these matters. But as soon as they start deportations, and I want you to know that Tom Holland has made it very clear, we are deporting the worst of the worst first, right? They're focusing on criminal migrants, okay? So I don't know where this sadness is coming from Selena Gomez. I understand why she deleted the post because it's silly. It really is silly. I just don't get it. You know, when I think about children, I did not become a crime victim advocate because this is something that I want to do. I completely do it for free when there is need. I have 2 little girls here in the city of Houston that were killed within a year in the same manner by the same type of people. They were young, they were vulnerable, beautiful young ladies, and most important of all, underage. They were both killed by migrants that had just gotten here a couple of weeks and saw them as prey. Where were the tears for those children? An 11-year-old who was also a migrant, and you had the 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungare. So when I think about their last moments of life with those type of individuals, it makes me just hurt inside. That's where the tears should be cried to. Those children that perished under these monsters' hands. For a second, I ask people, think about a little girl in your family, a daughter, a granddaughter, having to fight off a grown man, her last moments of life, dealing with that type of pain and suffering, the humiliation of having their clothes ripped off of them, and to experience that type of violence in their last moments of life. I often think about that, and it pushes me to want to advocate more. And that's how I ended up in Washington, because the truth is that these migrant children that come to this country are fleeing from something terrible on the other side of the border. So to want to allow everybody into this country is to remake the same areas, the same type of culture that they're running away from. This is why Hispanics came out and voted for Donald Trump. An unimaginable amount of people came out. Nobody could have predicted the shift in the Hispanic community to want to vote for a Republican president. Why? Because the ones that actually have ever lived in Mexico never want to go back, never want to put their families through that. Selena Gomez says those are my people. No, Selena Gomez, you were born in Texas. You're a U.S. citizen. You have no idea the dangers and the horrors that are across the border. And to cry for these people that are here wreaking havoc not only to migrants, but to citizens alike is sickening.
Well said. Well said. And, you know, what really gets me is to think that 340,000 children, and those are the numbers we know about. I think it's probably much higher than that, were facilitated under the Biden administration, brought into the United States, lost, unaccounted for, many of them killed, raped in the same manners, and we have no idea. And it's absolutely disgusting that this happened on their watch.
A lot of people don't understand the culture in Mexico, okay? There's even a term. It's called femicidio. Femicidio is a term because when you're killed simply because being a woman or a girl, right? And now, mind you, murder numbers in Mexico are so swayed. Community members, citizens of Mexico have been talking about this for years, that those numbers are just not accurate. They're extremely low in comparison to what actually is going on. And the number of missing women and girls does not apply to the murdered number, right? So in the combination of the numbers that are released, it's astonishing. There is a culture of sexual predators that thrive in Mexico and Central America because they don't have the resources or the want to investigate these types of murders. A little girl being raped and murdered is not uncommon in Mexico or Central America. There's not really a collection of DNA where they're really going after the predator, and their DNA system there in the forensic center in Mexico is a joke. So if you look at the amount of people that are actually prosecuted for murdering or raping a little girl or woman, they're minute. Right? So these individuals that came and murdered, Maria Gonzalez, 11 years old, Jocelyn Aguirre, 12 years old, were only here in the United States under a month. You're telling me that was the first time they killed? No, they were comfortable doing it. They were comfortable doing it, right? This was not their first time. We go back to the DWI situation. Was it your first time doing it, or was it your first time getting caught?
Right. Well said. Yeah, I don't want to see any more tears from these people. It's absolutely disgusting. I don't want to see any more posts on social media crying about it. No, you need to be crying for these little girls that have been sex trafficked and murdered.
One other thing, the liberal media was mute when Barack Obama deported 3.6 million people. Were they asking, are they criminals? Were they asking, have they committed a crime in their country? Have they committed a crime here? There was no questions asked. There was nothing said. Obama quietly deported 3.6 million people, and nobody batted an eyelash. There was no Selena Gomez tears.
Who built the cages? Who built the cages, right?
Obama.
Yeah, I love the hypocrisy. Well, thank you for speaking truth to power on this, and keep doing what you're doing. I hope we've turned a corner here in the United States, because this needs to stop. I think this is the most important story in America right now, and I think this needs to stop right now. April, thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you, sir.